7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the next edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It's our Picks and Chatter edition, Saturday morning podcast. You are listening on 12-ounce sports radio. We appreciate you tuning in. We want to thank the guys over there and wish them all a happy holiday. Hope everybody's holiday went well. What did you guys get into? I got Tony's in the studio here. What did you guys get into this holiday season?
Me, myself, I was actually sick during the holidays and just stayed at home pretty much doing nothing.
Made a short trip to Phoenix to visit some family, hang out over that time, and just got back, and it's good to be back.
Are you scouting locations for UCF tailgates?
I did not do that, unfortunately, but I think you will have a plethora of options, especially in that area, because they've cleared out some land, I guess, right near the stadium recently, so there should be plenty of spots.
I have heard that there's a lot. There's going to be a lot going on. I'll be down there, but I think I may only hit up one of the spots. I might not go bar hopping the day before the game, especially since it's an early game. And
yeah,
knowing myself, if I decide to indulge a little too much on New Year's Eve, I'll miss the game.
Nice.
So when UCF played Georgia in the Liberty Bowl, it was a January 1st game, and I almost missed it from being hungover.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've learned my lesson with that. So, anyways, like you heard, we got the Tonys in the studio. Tony Johnson on mic 1, Token Tony on mic 2. We have a special guest who's going to be helping us with picking some games going forward for the rest of the bowl season. My dad's in town. Mike on the mic.
Hey, Aaron, thanks for having me.
So, how are you? You've actually been sports betting, Mike, for a long time, but this week you've actually made your first, let's call them legal sports bets in an actual sports book this week. How did that go?
It went as it usually does. I lost.
Yeah, I know you took Tennessee. You took Dallas, though. That was good, but it just pushed.
Yeah, it pushed. You could see that coming a mile away. The Cowboys were up by 14, and it's starting to get a little bit of garbage time in there, and I had some concerns. And then the Bucs, actually, I probably needed them to score when they got held at the goal line, because then Dallas only got the ball at the 1, and then they tried to run out the clock, and then here goes my garbage touchdown.
Yeah. Jameis Winston's pretty good for those garbage touchdowns. If there's anything he's good for in his career, it's coming back and covering the spread.
He must lead the league in garbage yards.
You know what? That's a good stat. We should look that up.
It is a good one. He could very well be, especially this season for sure.
Yeah,
times they've been
absolutely.
down.
I was gonna say either him. I would say it's got to be him. Nevertheless, I will tell you this though: making legal sports wagers, the more and more you bet, the more and more pushes don't really hurt so bad. Because I know you were kind of like when you pushed, you were like,
"Well, that was a good bet, though." That's Alice.
He was kind of like God dang it! Oh my God, look at this. So the over/under in the Purdue-Auburn game, which we're watching right now,
Trending.
the trending over/under is 157 points.
Yeah.
157?
Yep. Yeah, that'll come down, obviously, but as the way the game produces itself, that's the way that trains. Auburn will cover by 17.5. Nevertheless, we are sitting here in studio. We've got Auburn-Purdue on as Auburn is taking a 3-touchdown lead, and obviously you're listening to this on Saturday, so you already know what the outcome of that one is. Let's thank the other sponsors: Eric on the Web Productions, ChaiPoker.com, and VGK Pop Sockets. What do we want to get into first? We're going to make some picks. Let's update how are we doing on our bowl podcast, or our bowl prop bet podcast, or our bowl prop bet.
Well, we're now officially through. So, as we're recording this Thursday, the 27th, so through the Vanderbilt-Baylor game, which just finished last night for our recording purposes, we have a tie at the top between myself, Tony Johnson, and our host, Aaron, both with 7 wins apiece. And,
of the games we differ on. We've won other games.
Yes, that's good to note, because, the games that we all made a pick, we obviously are not counting.
Somebody listening be like, those guys
purposes.
suck.
Yeah. And then Token is 3 behind right now with 4 games correct. But I will say Token does, I believe, going forward, have a lot of differing picks still. So it is possible for him to make a comeback. But
look, he's definitely got Auburn in this game. You both have Auburn. For whatever reason, I picked Purdue, but then I actually They came to lay money down. I bet Auburn. So who knows? Maybe when you're listening to this, Purdue staged this massive comeback. It doesn't seem likely, but
You never know. Still plenty of time left, so.
yeah, we'll see.
You both have Virginia later today, Saturday, as you're listening, against South Carolina against me. So that could be another spot where you could gain some games back. I mean, there's a lot of these games are really wide open. It's tough to say for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You never quite know. That game's on here in just a little bit. The 9 a.m. Pacific start. So, anyways, let's talk about something I kind of wanted to. I was sitting in the restaurant and we were watching the game, and all of a sudden it wasn't a game anymore. And that's the Boise State. Who were they playing? Boston College. What bowl was that? The Responder Bowl or whatever.
It was at the Cotton Bowl. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The First Responder Bowl.
Responder Bowl. Yeah. So I actually got a kick out of it because the first responders, their slogan. They're obviously, if you
Surf Pro. You're talking
Surf
about.
Pro,
Yeah.
the Surf Pro, the sponsor, they're kind of specialize in damage repair, and their tagline or their slogan is "Like it never even happened," which is kind of ironic for the bowl game because it's like it never even happened. So I thought that was kind of fitting. But what were your initial thoughts, kind of on their decision? Just everything in general. I've never seen a bowl game canceled. Even though the weather was supposed to be terrible, it seemed like just completely canceling a bowl game without, and I'm sure they did their due diligence. It just seemed very quickly. But initial thoughts on a bowl game just disappearing like this.
That was my exact initial thought, like you. It seemed like there'd be a chance at least to postpone it and make it up. There's certainly some time. The next day you could fit it in between some of the other games, or at least have it overlap a little bit. I don't know how all the contracts work and everything along those lines. Obviously, that probably dictates more than what we know just on the surface. But yeah, it just seems kind of strange to have that many people. I mean, thousands of people from both the far northwest and the far northeast.
As far as you can get.
Yeah, traveling to Texas for an event. You would think you would want to at least put it on. I know it might not be exactly what you want the same day, but yeah, for all the money spent, as you said, refunding tickets are one thing, but having to
plane, hotel, food.
Yeah,
I mean,
other expenditures and all that. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, does Surf Pro still have to cut checks to the bowl teams? I mean, that's the other question.
I'm sure they'll probably at least get a little break on that. I'm not sure how much of a percentage or whatnot.
Well, because Boise fans are upset because the Boise athletic director came out and said, all sales final. And
wow.
And Boston College's athletic director came out and said, you can if you bring your bowl tickets, you can exchange them for a free set of tickets to next year's season or basketball or what have you.
Something like
one event. They said, yeah, any event the next year.
Any event in 2019 you want. So obviously, I would imagine they're going to be giving out some football tickets next year.
Oh yeah.
So you got to figure who do they play next year? What are they in the Coastal?
Yeah,
Are they in the Coastal or the Atlantic? So. It might be like a Miami or a Virginia Tech. They may be giving away some tickets for.
Which is fine.
What do you think?
Yeah, you got to get on those Florida State Boston College tickets next year.
Well, I don't have tickets to the Surf Pro, but if I did, do you think that actually might be what's AJ Dillon's status? Is he a senior? Is he going to be pushing for the NFL or?
Yeah, they play home.
Junior, I believe.
Dillon and Brown. If they're still there, then maybe that might be a game, but I don't know. Florida State's not really a draw. Sorry, Mike.
Florida State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, NC State are probably the biggest four that are home.
There's no out-of-conference game that's...
Richmond and Kansas.
Oh, there you go.
Kansas.
If you would have gone to the Surf Pro, you could have gone to Kansas. You could have gone to the Kansas game.
Yeah. Pretty much all the big games are on the road this year for them.
Yeah, it's just, to me, I don't know, it's just kind of tough because with a bowl game, you bring your band, you bring, your entire, basically, your entire athletic football department. That costs money. That's not a cheap investment, especially to go to Dallas. From, like you said, from Boston and from Boise. I wonder if that's kind of one of the reasons Boise played at home a lot of the years. They played very close to home for a lot of their bowl games. And maybe this is another reason why remember when we talked about keeping teams closer to home versus having those weird matchups like we saw with Miami and Wisconsin. It kind of creates, when you send them this far away, it kind of creates a problem if any little thing goes wrong.
Totally agree. Yeah, no, it's and plus you have that guaranteed crowd that you know you're going to get, barring maybe that USF disaster of fandom that I guess you've said that
Did
they're not showing up.
Did I take the under in that game? Did I win?
I don't know. I didn't look
I
up
think
that
the
one.
attendance was like 4.
I did look up that one.
Did you see the pictures? Did you watch
I
that
saw
game?
it. It was weak. Yes,
I tried to tell you.
I saw it was really, really weak.
We have to get the attendance from that game because I want to match it up to what was the other game we looked at? Tulane.
Yeah, the Tulane, the New Orleans Bowl. Yeah, and there were way
Orleans.
more people than I thought there'd be. Yeah, there were 20,000 plus in that one. So
yeah, I would imagine that there were not 20,000 people to even drive by Raymond James Stadium for that game.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's another thing. I mean, I hate to shit on USF, but I love to shit on USF. I mean, how do you sit there and have a home bowl game, get your doors blown in, and only have about
4 people show up?
1/50th of your student section show?
it was weak. It was very weak.
So Mike, what bowl game have you watched so far that has been interesting to you, or what bowl game are you most looking forward to, or both?
Well, as a Miami hater, I was very interested in the Wisconsin-Miami game yesterday.
Yeah, you can't see it on the radio, but he's got his FSU hat on with pride.
Absolutely.
Although we didn't go to a bowl game this year.
Let me just tell you, South Florida boys playing in the cold is a real thing. It's a real thing. You really should have all been all over Wisconsin on that deal. I know that
you were. In fauress, you were.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. I mean, Miami couldn't figure out which quarterback to play. They've been rotating him every other game, every other practice, every other snap. I don't know what they're doing.
They should have just stayed in New York the entire month.
I think they probably did. They probably went to Brooklyn. They probably hung out
Too
with
much
the
pizza.
Nets. I don't know what they did, but they didn't show up.
They got that Mets mentality. Like, it's okay if we just show up. I will say with the First Responder Bowl, the Serve Pro, this one guy had a pretty funny tweet, and I know I like to defend UCF as much as possible, but one guy goes, UCF has now declared itself the winner of the First Responder Bowl. I thought that was pretty
Nice.
good.
I saw your tweet the other day against that one guy saying that Michigan should claim national championship.
Well, it wasn't that. Yeah, it was somebody had posted
On one
something
polls
about
or whatever,
how they had gone undefeated,
Yeah.
and in the polls, the polls had Nebraska.
Yeah.
But Michigan claimed a share of the national championship.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's okay for Michigan to claim national titles, but it's not okay for UCF. One goes, well, they finished number 1. I was like, not in these polls they didn't.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, they have to finish number 1 in a poll. And then I put the Coley Matrix
I
poll
know,
up that
I
showed
saw.
UCF number 1, and he hasn't responded yet.
I know. I saw
So
that.
still waiting on your response, whatever your Twitter handle was. Yeah. It's usually I've found with the UCF defense is when I debunk their narrative. Oh, he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, he caught it up.
When I debunk their narrative, they switch the narrative, so you can't really win. So, anyways, let's go on. We've got some games here on Saturday. Yeah, speaking of ball washer over here.
Did you still want to find out the attendance from the South Florida? I just
Oh,
pulled
if you
it up.
have it, yeah.
Yeah, 14,135.
Wow. 14? No way.
That's what it
That's the
claims
announced
it was.
attendance. No, I understand.
But that's maybe based on how many tickets that were sold.
Yeah, so it'll be
Looked like 2/3 of that.
I would
almost.
say if there was 9,000 people there, I would be shocked. So, all right, well let's move on to the games we have here on Saturday. Let me find them. We've got actually an interesting slate. Anything? We're going to go all the way to the end here with our bowl picks because we won't see, or you won't hear from us until bowl season's over.
Yeah, it'll be the national championship
Or the national championship.
Right before it.
Yeah. So, and I think, like you said, Tony, going forward, we do have a lot of picks in the non-playoff games here that are different. So we're going to have a lot of movement in our bowl contest here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the first game, which is Florida and Michigan. Inside the Mercedes-Benz Dome, it's the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. 10-2 Michigan, 9-3 Florida. Does anybody have a line on that? I see 6 is the best line I see. 51 on the total.
Yep.
What do we have here for our bowl contest?
Well, we don't have any differences in this game.
We're all on.
Michigan.
Yes. But that was also picked before 3 starters went out.
Right.
So how do we feel about that?
Well, that's exactly it. So now with
we've got 3 starters out and the line moved half a point.
Yeah, it didn't really seem to move very much.
I thought it was at 7, but yeah.
Okay, maybe moved a point. I thought it was a 6.5.
Maybe, but even so, it hasn't moved all that much at all. So
we're losing Gary, Bush,
and Higdon.
Yeah. So you have 2 defensive starters who are probably going to be first-round picks and a running back as well. So.
Right. So yeah, it's a strong trio that's out, and the fact the line hasn't moved all that much tells me that I think a lot of people do believe that Michigan is still a clearly better team than Florida, at least at this point. My guess would be that Dan Mullen is going to get that team into a top contender probably relatively shortly. But at this point, certainly without his recruits or his guys, it's a work in progress. But that said, I'm not necessarily going to make a wager on this game, but if I had to, that's just a lot of movement for me, and getting 6 points in a game like this where there's a lot of unpredictable nature to some of these bowl games that are not necessarily huge games, although the Peach Bowl does carry a little bit of weight. I would be on the Florida side here, getting 6, but still a little bit too uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, I'm on the same side. I think Florida loses this game by a field goal, and Michigan, they kind of struggle on defense a little in this one, but they still get the job done and get the W 27-24.
Yeah, it's hard to really see, a clear side in this because Florida's played Jekyll and Hyde football. So, I feel like based on the number 51, both these teams have played pretty good defense this year. I think both are averaging overall. Michigan's averaging 17.6 and Florida's averaging 20.4. That doesn't sound like a recipe for a 51 total. And neither offense is light them up. So I'll let you pick, and I'm still kind of trying to decipher really where I want to sit on this.
Well, I think the key to the whole game is Felipe Franks. He has been so inconsistent all year. Or actually, he's been pretty consistent. He's been pretty bad all year.
Consistently bad. I'd say there's a couple games he showed up, Louisiana State, Mississippi State, and the first half of the Florida game. But you're right, overall, the guy's already been benched once or twice this year. At least once, I know that. So, yeah, it's hard to say. Where do you sit on this? You got Michigan -6 and you got a 51 total.
All right, against my better judgment, I'm actually going to take Florida with the points. Again, I don't like teams who have a bunch of guys who sit out. I think it sends a bad message to the rest of the group like, hey, thanks for helping me get to a great draft position, but I'm out.
Yeah, and Tony, we've all had this discussion multiple times. We've all said that Bush, Gary, Higdon, what is college football for? It's for elevating you to your next career, which is professional football. And I've actually probably sat on both sides of the fence with this, saying at one point I said, yes, you should be a teammate, you should help your team. But at the same time, if NFL franchises don't care that you skip a bowl game, I don't see the problem with it. But I get what you're saying. From a team perspective, do you think that that's going to affect the Michigan football team? They still have Shea Patterson. They still have, what's his name, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Dominic or Donovan?
Donovan, yeah.
Donovan.
And Chris Evans is quite a good running back as well.
Yeah, Evans has been, I think he's a senior as well. He's been in the program for a while. Mm-hmm. And, they still have a pretty solid defense against, like what you said, a team on offense that has been pretty inconsistent this year. But, I do, as a football fan, agree with you. Like, not playing does send a bad message, but I think that we're going to start seeing that way more often as long as the bowl system and the playoff system stays the way it is.
I just think it would have been cool to be in the room when those guys went into Harbaugh and said, hey, I don't think I'm going to play this game. What do you think happened then?
What's he going to do?
I could see him being outraged and throwing a chair at them.
But the thing is they've done everything asked of them. Like we talked about, I can't remember which episode or which podcast it was, but I said the only way you're going to be able to control this is writing stipulations in their scholarship.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
You must complete every game we play, or I don't know. Obviously, there's people smarter than I.
To injury or something.
Yeah, and then you start getting some weird injuries that start popping up. But again, until the playoff expands or makes these bowl games less meaningless, I don't see any reason. Same with Will Grier. What good does he have? The scouts already have enough tape on him to make their decision on where they're going to draft him. What is this one? What bowl are they in? Exactly. What does this one bowl game have to do with where they're going to draft him? He has nothing to gain by this.
It's true. I'm just really talking more from a sports betting perspective. I do think it has an effect on the team.
Oh, absolutely.
No
doubt, yeah.
And really, it's a shame because we enjoyed watching them all season, and then now you can't see them again. But I understand from the player's standpoint. I don't have any problem with the player. I do think it does affect the team, though.
Well, absolutely. I don't disagree with that 100%. But do we consider this? We all talk about Harbaugh in big games. Do we consider this a big game, quote unquote? Even though, in the grand scheme of things, the Peach Bowl doesn't really carry a lot of weight.
Well, I think he should for the Big Ten standpoint. I mean, they say
they're not
how
looking
great,
good right now. 28-7.
Yeah,
Purdue.
they say how great the Big Ten is. I'm not as big of a fan as most of the media guys are. So I think a good win against Florida would do well for Harbaugh, but I'm not sure how motivated they are.
And this is the third time that these two teams have met up in the last 4 years.
Yes.
And I believe Harbaugh's won both of them.
He has, yeah. And they've been pretty dominant both games. One was a complete rout. The other was closer, but Michigan was clearly the better team in the field. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it probably goes to show just the difference of team and difference of recruit currently. I know Florida's had some big years in the past where they've had some really, really talented players, but that's just not the case currently in the current state. So.
Right. And my situation here is, the more I actually think about it, I think you said we're all on Michigan at this point. But you combine basically 3 starters leaving or missing the game. Combine that with getting beat. Their last game, they got beat by 24 points or something like that, 62 to 20 or something like that. Whatever the score was, they got crushed by Ohio State. They had Big Ten aspirations, they had Rose Bowl aspirations, they had playoff aspirations. Now they're in the Peach Bowl, facing a team that, whether you believe it or not, picked Michigan as a way to duck another team. That's a different conversation, but it all really doesn't shape up too well for Michigan as far as betting. I mean, what do they have? I mean, what does this do? Okay, they're already at a 10-2 season. 11-2 doesn't change anything because it's not a playoff win. The more and more I look at this game, the more and more I agree with you guys. I like Florida with the points, and there's a potential for them actually winning this game outright. That being said, I probably sprinkle a little bit on the over too, because that seems fishy. 2 teams that give up 37 points total, for the line to be this high, I feel like it could be somewhere in the 30 to 27 range. So, all right. Well, let's move to the Belk Bowl, which is also starting here in just a little bit. Which I know you're excited about this game.
Mildly. It's not my favorite.
You might be.
Yes.
Of the 4 people here, you are the only one with excitement for this game, maybe.
That's very possible. That's entirely possible.
Line is South Carolina -5. This game is played in Charlotte?
Yes.
So, is it played at Panther Stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the total is 54 in this game. You got 2 7-5 teams, SEC versus ACC. These are kind of those games where, what you were talking about, Mike, where the conferences can start to ring their own bells. I mean, if the ACC, who's been pretty shitty this year, can walk in with one of their better teams and beat South Carolina, who's one of the middling teams in the SEC, well, the ACC can have a little bit of horn tooting for the 7-month period we have before August. But what do you think in this game, Token?
I think it really relies on Jordan Ellis, running back for Virginia, whether he can keep the ball on the ground, moving sticks and all that, and opening up the passing game for Virginia moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's an intriguing game because we have Virginia that's clearly, I think, in most people's minds, overachieved here. Bronco Mendenhall has taken a little while to kind of get the team exactly the way he wanted and the pieces that he needs to run a relatively specific offense, especially for this area of the country where it's really more of a run-first RPO set without really spreading the field all that often, which you don't see a ton. A lot of heavy packages and a different player set, I think, than we're used to seeing in some of these other ACC teams. So it's taken them a little while, but this year was really a fantastic season. They finally got some big signature wins. The win, especially against Miami, I think was really important for the program going forward. And this is unfortunately, I think, for them the toughest matchup they're probably going to face all year long. Or you could make at least a close argument for. South Carolina played really well down the stretch this season, and are a good SEC team. They're not incredible, overpowering, but they are certainly above average compared to some of the other teams in the Power Five. So, to me, I mean, my lean would be on South Carolina here. I don't really tend to like laying a lot of points all that often. That would be where it would be at. I think the under being around 54 right now. Also has some merit. I struggle to see Virginia scoring very many points in this game, and a back and forth affair with probably a lot of punts would be my prediction here. So that's where I would be, the under 54, but no distinct play for me on this one.
Yeah, offensively, these two teams aren't going to be lighting up the scoreboard. The defensive battle, I would see more. Virginia plays offense a little bit better than South Carolina, in my opinion. As far as the Pick'em contest, you are on South Carolina, Tony, and Token and I are on UVA in the spot. So I actually am going
It's not very comfortable. Yeah, I don't feel that comfortable about it necessarily.
I think I'm actually going to stick with the UVA pick, and actually for betting purposes, I like Virginia on the money line in this spot.
Yeah, same here. It's just looked it up on Billy Hill. It's 175 currently.
So it gets the bonus point.
Yeah.
I think it's a team, like you said, Bronco Mendenhall has had much more of a job to do than Will Muschamp. I think Will Muschamp, this team kind of underachieved in my mind as far as South Carolina, and I think Virginia's probably happy to be where they at, whereas South Carolina probably, we talk about the what to play for. Yeah, I'm sticking with my UVA pick. I'll take UVA on the money line in that spot. Maybe also back it up with some 4.5 as well. It's 4.5 or 5, depending on where you catch it.
Yeah.
Depending on when you refresh the page.
Yeah. Yeah, I see 5 on William Hill right now,
But I know you're super excited for this game as well.
Well, Will Muschamp is one of those guys who looks like a really good coach, but the results just aren't there.
Like Jim Harbaugh?
He was a coach in waiting at Texas. Then Florida had to have him. Florida had to get rid of him. Then he went to D coordinator for 1 year, and then now South Carolina had to have him. And I see a bunch of 7-5s is what I see with him. I do like Virginia in the game, not a lot. I would probably take the points with South Carolina. I think it's going to be that close. But if I had to go money line, I would take Virginia.
Any concerns, Tony, about Samuel missing the game?
None at all. I think he's not even the best receiver in the team. Edwards has clearly been, I think, the more dynamic receiver, and he's able to run, way more routes, and he's just much more effective. So I don't think it matters too much. They run 2 or 3 guys out of the running back position and are interchangeably pretty easily. So, I mean, if Bentley was maybe sitting out for or injury or something like that, that might mean something to the quarterback. But Deebo Samuel to me doesn't move the needle at all on this one.
Fair enough. Kind of I would say it helps your case. I mean, depending on how you look at it, is South Carolina 7-5 this year. Their losses are to number 2 Clemson, number 6 Georgia, number 10 Florida, number 15 Kentucky, and number 20 Texas A&M. So, I mean, if you're talking about winning versus losing, if you take that into account, I mean, they would say they had better losses. Considering Virginia 7-5, they lost to Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech. So.
And their last 2 wins were against some weaker opponents. I know that as well. And then they had lost 2 other games beside that in the last 4. So they haven't really beaten a quality team in a long time either. So
that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So it'll be interesting to see who brings more fans to this game, because it's kind of a meet me in the middle kind of a game too. Which this is bowl game. That's what you should really have.
Yeah, this could be legit.
The BC versus Boise State, it's like, man, everybody's got to come down to Dallas. This is like a Virginia-South Carolina border war kind of
My
thing.
guess is there will be a pretty good crowd for this one, because I know Virginia is going to have a lot of people that are still in the D.C. metro area, and certainly there's some extra fundage usually in that spot to be able to travel. So this should be very well attended, I think.
Yeah.
Not only that, Charlottesville and
maybe mid-20s,
Columbia aren't too far from
20,000.
Charlotte.
No, the actual
Columbia.
locations, right? Yeah, I'm just
Columbia,
saying
I believe, is like an hour, maybe.
It's probably not very long.
Yeah.
Probably
it's
not very
too
long.
Far, so
But yeah, a lot of Virginia grads in the D.C. area, so I think they'll be, very well attended.
Well, it's a weekend, so they'll be able to travel down.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's move forward to Arkansas State. I don't know where I got Texas from. Arkansas State versus Nevada. Let's see, how are we doing in our contest in this one? Tony, you and I have Arkansas State, and Token is rolling with Nevada in this one.
Yeah, go Wolfpack.
Currently, the line is Nevada is a 2-point favorite. This is in Tucson at Arizona Stadium. What bowl is this? The Arizona Bowl?
The Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, yeah.
It's so hard to keep up with not only the bowls when they change sponsors.
Yeah.
Jeez. But anyways, we've got 8-4 versus 7-5. Like I said, you and I are on Arkansas State in this matchup. However, the public tends to disagree with us. Only 35% of the action coming in on the Red Wolves. So how are you feeling about this?
I don't think anybody actually knows what to do in this game. I have no faith in anyone.
Close your eyes, flip a coin.
Yes.
And whatever side it lands on, bet that one.
Pretty much, yes. I mentioned there were 3 games in a previous podcast. I don't think anybody could have convinced me to take a side because it was just completely unknown.
And this is one of them.
This is the third of the 3. The first one was Eastern Michigan, Georgia Southern. The second one was Buffalo, Troy. and then now we have Arkansas State, Nevada. And in those first two games, they were back and forth, and they were very close all the way to the end because, again, I think there's just how can anybody know? So this is exactly that. There's just so much unknown with both of these teams, not only playing in this area of the country, facing each other. This just doesn't happen. We still have a relatively new coach with Jay Norvell in Nevada, who's done an unbelievable job turning this team all the way from Napoleon's, whatever's his kid, a disaster that he left Nevada in, to now 2 years later having a very, very legit offense and a team that is really on the rise in the Mountain West and somebody to look forward to, I think, in the coming years. And Arkansas State has just been a solid contender, I think, for many years now going forward. And this is a normal type of situation for them to be in a general later bowl game, and they're used to that type of spot. So it's interesting in that sense, I guess, but I have nothing really more to say on that.
That's all I have to say.
That's really it.
I mean, even if you look at the stats, they're pretty well balanced, even on both sides. I mean, points per game, they're within a half-point game scored as well as allowed, almost, and yards per game as well as defensive yards per game is like within 5. So.
The only thing I did find that was very small, that doesn't really have to do with actual the teams, is that it's supposed to be actually very cold in Tucson on Saturday, which is sort of strange.
Probably would help Nevada a little.
That would be my only guess, is that they do recruit the Northwest a lot, obviously. So yeah. That's the only thing I thought, that the game time temperature is going to be in the 40s when it starts, which is, got to be obscenely cold for Tucson. Yeah. But that's about the only thing I know. I have absolutely nothing to add for a pick in this game. I usually have some sort of lean.
I do think Hansen is the better quarterback in this game, but I think this game relies more on the run game, and Tua for Nevada's the better one, I believe.
And that's arguable, too, because I think Ganji for Nevada has been excellent this year.
He has, but Hansen, he scored a few more touchdowns, given a few less picks, but I mean, Ganji, he has faced a lot of tough competition, too, so arguably that's part of that, too. So
I'll take Nevada.
There we go. Split decision.
It's concise. I like it.
I'm staying with Arkansas State in this one. I actually think Arkansas State's going to win it straight up. I look at everything across the board with both teams. Arkansas State lost to the teams they were supposed to lose to: Georgia Southern, Appalachian State, Louisiana, and of course, what many people are going to remember is them getting beat 57-7 by Alabama, and that was back early in the season. They kept it close with their competition, and I'd honestly actually say from top to bottom, maybe just top, I would say top to middle, the Sun Belt I think could compete with the Mountain West. When I look at Nevada, Nevada gets crushed by everyone they play except Boise, and they lost to UNLV. I can't trust a team that loses to UNLV. Don't care how much you defend them.
It all depended on the quarterback situation. Was all Armani Rogers or not? When he played, look at what happened. When he didn't,
yeah.
It was pretty.
I know. I'm taking a page out of Spike's playbook. If you lose to UNLV, you're off my radar. Also, that being said, Arkansas State has a pretty good program building. They've been pretty good for a while. I could see this team, if conferences start to realign, I could see an Arkansas State in the American Conference going forward if UCF and others were to leave. Mm-hmm. So that all being said, I will stick with my Arkansas State pick straight up. I will then bet it on the money line. Do we have a money line for that token?
110, I believe.
I was going to say probably 125 with the 2 points. Really? Either 110, I'd still take it.
Minus 130 plus 110, is that what you're
saying? Something around there.
Yeah, something like that.
That's decent value right there. Do I give 20 cents for 2 points? So. Give me the Red Wolves in that one.
No, actually, even.
The spread's already down to even?
Yeah, no, money line's even for Arkansas State. 1.5's the spread on William Hill right now.
That makes me even feel better about Arkansas State. That being said, I think Arkansas State's going to win this one straight up. All right, get into Saturday. Want to save the playoff games?
Monday then?
Or do you want to just go straight into the playoff games?
Oh no, yes.
Well,
how many games are after the playoff? Holy shit!
A lot.
Shit ton. Yeah.
Quite a few.
All right, fuck it. We're not gonna backtrack. Let's do the playoff games.
Okay.
We did not do the playoff games in our prop bet podcast, so we really are just kind of examining these for the first time. Let's start 1 versus 4. Alabama, Oklahoma. The line is 2 touchdowns currently, and the total is 77 points. Opened up at 79.
It jumped up too, and then it's really come down.
Yeah,
it was up into the low 80s, 81, I believe.
Action's going in on the dog here, really. 58% going in on the 14 points. You have 13-0, which we know all the Alabama. Although the last game we've seen them, they struggled to win the SEC title game, and they had to. And obviously, Jalen Hurts had to come in and quote unquote save the day. I wouldn't say there's uncertainty in Tuscaloosa, not like a quarterback controversy. I'm just saying it just seems like the last time we saw Alabama, they looked mortal. And then you have Oklahoma, who I don't think they're even going to travel with their defensive unit down to Miami. I think they're just going to leave the defense and just secede the touchdown every time because it's basically the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But they are 12-1. So this game is tough. I mean, a lot of people are just loving Alabama rolling, but what I'm seeing here with the action says kind of quite the opposite.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one for sure. I'm much more looking forward to this game versus the other playoff game, just because I think, as you said, to me it's going to go one of two ways, exactly how you let it up to be. Whereas I think if Alabama is in their full, offensive mode and the suspensions and the injury to Tua are, not all that meaningful, which appear to be the case on both fronts, then I don't think there should be any issue. But Oklahoma, when offense flows, is completely unstoppable. So while they don't play any defense, and I grant you that, in fact, they are dead last in pass defense in college football, it's still tough to beat a team, especially by a lot, by more than 14 points, if you can't really stop them, stop their offense. So I totally get where the line is and what stands. My pick on this game is actually a little more creative, something we've talked about, sometimes using a parlay, using a teaser to kind of make some sense of something. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm actually going to parlay. This is going to be really strange to say, but
I think you might be right in the same ball field I am. I want to hear this, though.
I'm going to parlay the Oklahoma money line, and that's in the plus 450 range, somewhere along that, along with the over.
Okay, we're not in the same ballpark.
We can get it 77 here. The only way I can see Oklahoma winning this game
is high scoring.
Is if it's about 100 points combined, where they hopefully get the ball last in a 50 to 45 type of game. They need a touchdown at the end of the game.
What was the score last year when they played Georgia? Something around those numbers.
Very
too.
high. Yeah.
And then they decided to bring in Kyler Murray and leave Baker Mayfield on the bench. No disrespect to Kyler Murray, he was a different player last year than he was.
Yep.
But I remember scratching my head going, you've got the Heisman Trophy winner, and you're bringing in this backup quarterback to run draw plays. It just didn't make any sense to me.
It was weird. I agree. Totally agree. So, that's my play on that.
Oklahoma money line with the over 77.
I could
or if you can catch it smaller.
Yeah, and that pays about 9.5 to 1, that parlay. So I think
not bad for a 2-team parlay.
Yeah, I think there's enough value there to warrant it. If I had to make a singleton bet on the game, I would just take the Oklahoma money line around plus 450. Although totally entertain people that are laying the big points here on Alabama. I get that. I totally understand that theory as well. It's not like I can't see it going the other way. Certainly can. So, but that's where I stand on the game.
Yeah, this one I believe it's going to be high scoring, and Alabama's defense will be able to give up a few key plays to Oklahoma's offense. Oklahoma will keep it close. Be nice to see them win, take down the big giant, but whether it happens or not, we'll find out. Oklahoma plus the points is my play, and I do like the over as well, so that's going to be my two-leg parlay in this one.
All right. Alabama is going to roll. Roll, Tide, roll. I think that Alabama is the best team in the country, and their defense will get enough stops to actually make this pretty much a blowout win. I like the under in this game because what's going to happen is Alabama's going to get out to about a 28-point lead, and they're going to run the ball, and they're going to just drain the clock. And so I don't think they want to give Kyler Murray any chances. And so they're going to play a more conservative game plan, yet still be able to score at will.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, I'm going to make my bold declaration right here.
Oh no.
Alabama will not be national champions, but they'll win this game.
Wow, that is it could be counted as a bold prediction, I think. Yeah.
But
I would say, yeah.
where I'm going to go with
big
this,
favorite out of the 4. So
where I'm going to go with this is I'm actually going to take the 2 bowl games and go with my patented 14-point teaser.
Oh, of course.
So I'll give you the first 2.
yeah.
Well, we know what the first one will be. It'll be
Yeah.
Alabama down to a pick.
Down to a pick 'em. Alabama down to a pick 'em.
I know that by now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take the under 91 points.
Okay.
I think the world is. I think Vegas wants all the money going on the over. I think this 9 has been manually moved down, like you said. Oklahoma's the only reason, in my opinion, that this line is being driven so high. Because you look at the last few games for Alabama, they're not putting up the 50s and the 60s like they were against the Chumps. So this line is only, in my opinion, inflated by the Oklahoma offense. And if the Oklahoma offense can't get going, it's going to be a long day for them. I mean, the last time, okay, so yeah, you're right. I mean, 35-28 was the UGA game. So, I mean, 35 is a lot of points in the SEC, but in a game where the over/under is 77, I mean, you're talking about 100. You're talking about 100 points here. I mean,
if Oklahoma is firing on all cylinders
Yeah.
offensively, that's my key to that. Yes, but I can totally see what you guys are
and
saying.
that's the
though.
question: is
Yeah.
can they fire? And I'm not discounting the fact that they
Sure.
could. I mean, if any team can get through Alabama's defense,
Yes.
it's this team.
That
It's
is
Oklahoma.
yes.
So I don't hate the fact that you're taking the over. I feel like if I can have 91 points,
Right.
as long as it's not Kansas City versus the Rams, I feel pretty comfortable with 91 points. That being said, those are the first 2 legs. I think under 91 and Alabama down to a pick 'em. I know, low-hanging fruit. But let's move over to the Cotton Bowl Classic, which is the Clemson-Notre Dame game, the other playoff game, the 2-3 game. Clemson also a 12.5-point favorite. We're looking at double digits in the playoff. I mean, oof, what does that say more towards the tip of the power struggles in college football? I mean, we have 2 playoff games here with double-digit, almost 2 touchdown favorites. The over/under right now is 56.5. Both teams. This actually, I just saw this stat. This is the first playoff game we've had where both teams are undefeated.
Interesting.
Something you don't think about. Yeah, where both teams on the field are actually undefeated.
And if Alabama wins, then the championship would be undefeated too.
Well, if Alabama wins, then they'll have the second game. Yeah, you're right, because either one of these teams will still carry on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This one, everybody's been loving grabbing Notre Dame with the points, but the last time we saw Notre Dame on this kind of pedestal was against Alabama when they got beat by, I think, like 6 touchdowns. So it's really hard to kind of dictate where you should go on this one. Again, total 56.5, 12.5 favorite Clemson. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Trevor Lawrence. I think the guy's amazing, but I mean, he's a freshman, and this is, I don't want to say the first real test, but this might be the first real test. I mean, everything else he seemed to almost make it look like schoolyard football so far. So I really don't know what to make of. I mean, that's the thing that kind of worries me is a freshman quarterback playing in a playoff game, but he's not like any other freshman I've seen.
No, there really aren't that many. I agree with that. I think it's become very obvious at this point. It was a little bit more controversial when it happened when the whole Kelly Bryant fiasco went down, but I think they clearly have the better of the 2 players playing right now, and they will for the next few years at least. So it's a good situation for Clemson in that sense. And I'm not going to have a distinct wager on this game. I do think Notre Dame plays good enough defense where they could keep it close enough, and we are dealing with a lot of points here. But if I had to lean on this one, I actually would just lay the points here with Clemson. And it just goes back to the fact, and we've talked about this in previous times, about how Notre Dame has just not done well against a large variety of opponents all season long. I don't think it's been a game or two where they just haven't played great or whatever. You can dismiss a little bit here and there. This has been a consistent theme with Notre Dame this entire season of just not playing very well against a variety of generally subpar teams. We can go all the way from USC, Northwestern, Pittsburgh, Stanford, and then, of course, I like to bring up the Vanderbilt and then Ball State game.
They almost lost.
Ball State at home, they were down late in the second quarter, and that game was really close. I understand they were coming off a big win against Michigan the previous week. I get that. You might have a little bit of letdown, but you cannot let Ball State hang around.
Yeah.
They won 4 games this year, and they were lucky to get their 4th towards the tail end of the season. So this is a team that, to me, is on a different playing field and different level than Clemson. As you correctly said, though, this is Trevor Lawrence facing what might be the best defense he's faced all season long. So
Fair.
I'm a little bit concerned about that in regards to covering a line this big. But if I had to make the bet, and this is certainly where my lean is, and if the line jumps down for some odd reason, if there's like a lot of Notre Dame money that comes in, gets in that 10 range, then I could certainly be betting on Clemson here. But that would be that's where I'm at right now.
What about the running backs? You got Williams and Etienne. I feel like Dabo might want to take a little bit of the pressure off of.
Book.
No, Dabo wants to take pressure off of Lawrence.
Oh.
And yes, on the subsequently with Dexter Williams, you want to take some pressure off of Book. Although he's not a freshman, this is his first year starting. So, I mean, you've got 1,400 yards in ATN with 21 touchdowns.
And it's not just him either. Lynn J. Dixon is a really good runner. Feaster is fantastic, too. Can break it at any time. I mean, they got some really good runners there.
And you have Williams, who's averaging 117 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground as well. I mean, that to me looks like there may be a kind of a feeling out process with the rushing offenses. Because, like you said, Trevor Lawrence can do a lot of things, but at the same time, he can do a lot of things because of the ground game that's been pretty damn dynamic this year. So, there goes Auburn again.
This time
I
on
think the
defense.
over's got to 200.
Yeah, the
I
over
was
might
going to
be.
say, they did a good
The
job.
live
with that.
over might be 200 now. It's 146. The live over right now is 146.
Amazing.
No, they got to put the points up and then.
Nice pick with
be
Purdue
like
for
right
a
around
contest.
one.
Oh, yeah, it's still 35-7 on it. Yeah. So it might be higher. You're right.
The regular over's been hit by now almost.
All things being said, as much pub and love as Alabama's getting, I think this is the more interesting game because I think a lot of people are ready to shit all over Notre Dame. But from a betting standpoint, I think Notre Dame can hang within 12.5 points if possible, if they play solid football and maybe force the freshmen into some mistakes. So you never really quite know. So you are on what on this?
My lean is on Clemson, laying the points here.
Okay.
I'm not terribly confident, but that's where my lean is.
For me, I'm taking one out of Spike's book. Clemson by whatever.
Wow.
I do believe Notre Dame defense is pretty good, but Clemson's offense is going to be even better. I do believe both the starting quarterbacks will throw an interception in this game, though. I do believe the defenses will be able to pressure them and make them have a key turnover to kind of hang the balance in.
Trevor
this,
Lawrence,
but
over under 1.5 turnovers.
under. Then it's going to be a pick.
I say he has a pick and a fumble lost.
So Token, you think it's more likely that Clemson routes Notre Dame than Alabama routes the other side? Okay,
Yes.
I was just curious.
Yes,
Yep.
by far, yeah.
Yep.
Clemson minus 13, even what I see here or whatever. I like the over as well in this one. I do believe Notre Dame does put up some points, but Clemson winning this game 35-20, something around there.
Well, that's not by whatever.
Oh,
That's just
keeping
barely,
it realistic.
That's barely covered.
Only by 2.5, 2
Yeah.
points, yeah.
Clemson by whatever, I would think you're feeling like 56-20. But hey, yeah, that still covers though.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all that matters. He's got a prep for this one.
I'm ready. All right.
Mike digs in. I like it.
Digging in.
Takes his cleats.
Okay. I call timeout to the umpire. Now I'm ready.
Yeah.
All right. So I've seen a lot of Notre Dame football this year, and I think they played great. They really have. Their schedule, which in the beginning of the year looked awesome, turned out to be a dud. I mean, they had Stanford, who was supposed to be good. Florida State was supposed to be good.
USC
was supposed to be good. And so they kind of ran into a little bit bad luck as far as the scheduling was concerned. They did beat Michigan the first game of the season. I thought they've looked really good. The game against Syracuse, I think, was going to be a really, really good game, and then Dungy went out with the head injury, and then Syracuse couldn't recover there either. So I like what Notre Dame is doing, but Clemson, I like Clemson all the way. I'm laying the points. Clemson's offense is dynamic. They have the great running backs, very underrated wide receivers. They've got a deep threat. They've got the short threat with Renfro. They're going to be tough to beat. Notre Dame really wins a lot of their games being more physical than the other team, and Clemson is going to be just as physical with that defensive front. So I like Clemson laying the points, and I also like the under in this game. I think that another one where they're going to try to run the clock out a little bit and kind of wear Notre Dame out. I don't like Brian Kelly as much in these type of games because I don't think he is as creative offensively as he needs to be to beat a team like Clemson because they're tough to get the run through, and they're really based on the run and then pass second. And I think that he's going to have to come up with something to get past the defensive front of Clemson, and I'm not sure he can do that. So I'm going to go and take Clemson, and I'm going to lay the points.
Fair enough. Yeah. So you're all kind of leaning Clemson.
Yep.
Well, if I had to make a straight-up bet, I would take the points. However, I have to finish my 14-point teaser.
Of course. Why would we want to leave that hanging?
Yeah.
Everyone's waiting so patiently.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself.
All right.
So where am I going with this?
You always take down the bigger favorites to down to 0 or 1 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Where am I going with the total?
Oh, who knows? It's probably low enough where you'll be like, well, that's just Clemson can just do it by themselves. So it'll probably be 41 or 42. You'll take the over.
I fucking hate this guy. Can we turn his mic off? I'm taking Clemson. What is that? Plus 1.5. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking the over 42.5.
There it is.
You know what's going to happen, right? He's going to text me in the middle of the game. I bet that too.
I followed your 14-point teaser.
I tailed it. But no.
For the dinner tonight.
Yeah, but no, actually, I'll probably fire. Give me an updated money line on Notre Dame right now.
Guessing like right around 350. I'll pull it up.
That's a very good guess. I think it was 340 when it opened. So
340 with a 12.5 point spread.
When it opened.
No, I understand that. I'm saying 340 with 12. It's just nuts to me.
It really depends on where the money's coming in on the money line too, and
I'm going to say
340.
Well, still, yeah, it just seems low to me. I feel like a 12.5 point spread, you should be in the 4s. What's Oklahoma's?
425.
See, I mean, there you go.
I mean, it's 1.5 difference.
A couple of spots have it at 450 though, so I mean, yes, that's where I made my parlay already.
I'm wondering if maybe there's some late action on Clemson where I can find Notre Dame maybe in the 375 to 4 range.
Possibly.
That being said, I think there's a little bit of a sprinkle there.
Yeah, both these lines are really overinflated because of the last couple of years, Alabama and Clemson being the most well-known name recognitions in these bowl games.
I mean, we'd be setting up for what, the third title matchup, fourth?
Third title matchup, but fourth overall.
In the playoff. They played in a semifinal game. Mm-hmm. But
great. Yeah, and then you got the general public just betting the names, and but I mean Oklahoma and Notre Dame bring a lot of name recognition.
Actually, Aaron, instead of doing your 14-point teaser at minus 200, you could just take both the favorites on the money line as a parlay at minus 216.
Oh, really? It goes that far down?
Yeah.
Shows you what great value those 14-point teasers
I never said they
are.
were great value. I never admitted them to be great value.
Paying 16% more juice, and you're not relying on two totals to either fade or tail. So
16%? I'm paying 16 cents, not 16%.
No, I said 16 cents. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said 16% more juice.
No.
I'm like, I'm not paying 16% more juice. Yes, I've never admitted to them being great value. They're fun.
I know, it's fun.
They're not economically or bettingly correct. But they're fun. So
but they are, but in this sense, the value would be the
so you guys are both number one.
Thank you.
Yes, I accept my number one spot.
All right, so Clemson, we're saying Clemson and Alabama wins. Let's just for fun, what's the opening line on that game?
Alabama minus 7.5.
Alabama minus 10.
Wow.
I saw it at 8, so I don't know.
I was going to say 7
I don't think
or
I
8.
count because I actually saw a line.
I saw it too. That's why I was just curious. But
Oh, I didn't look. I just...
No, I believe it.
I would have said 7.5 too.
Yeah, it's a good prediction. Always.
So that's still to me. I mean,
I think you have the hook to kind of get both double-sided action in.
And if Tua looks great and they roll against Oklahoma and Notre Dame, puts up
it
a
might
fight,
be adjusted a little.
it could absolutely be 10 or something, or higher. Who knows?
Yeah.
I still think Clemson's beating them. I think Clemson's beating them in the championship.
I could see that for sure.
All right. Well, after all that climax, let's go to the what bowl is this? The Military Bowl on December 31st. God, it's like the playoffs are right in the middle. It just seems so to still play games after it.
I was about to say I'm surprised there's no game on Sunday, but a lot of
A lot of football there.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Cincinnati versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had to scratch, claw, and fight to just get bowl eligible. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they are now the new current longest streak for consecutive bowls made. I could be wrong, but I believe
You had looked it up, and I believe they were number 2 behind Florida State at that point.
Correct.
So, yeah.
So that being said, they're facing a 10-2 Cincinnati team who's currently ranked number 24. And the line is currently Cincinnati's favor, 5.5. This game is where, Annapolis?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So kind of a little bit pretty close to each team, a little closer to Virginia Tech, but a lot of the money is going in on Virginia Tech. Almost 60% of the action going their way. 53.5 has held steady as the total since it opened.
Yeah, this is one I'm actually definitely going to wager on, which is nice because I know it's kind of a weird day, as you said, after all the playoff games a couple days before that. But I think there's a lot of good spots here, and this is definitely one of them. The weather will play a factor in this game. There should be heavy rain throughout the game and relatively cold. So I don't see a whole lot of offense just in general. And Cincinnati runs the ball extremely well, and they are facing one of the worst rush defenses in college football.
Surprising to hear, considering it's a Bud Foster-led defense.
It is. Yeah, they're giving up 5.3 yards a carry and over 200 yards a game, and that's been against some relatively innocuous teams too. Nothing spectacular either for the most part. Relatively consistent throughout the season, so that doesn't bode well here. You're not going to get that corrected within 3 or 4 weeks, and I think Virginia Tech is here as a name and as a general close by or at least close to where a lot of their fans are going to be, and this just, it made sense on a logistic standpoint, but they are not really going to be in this game. You could make an argument here that maybe a parlay with the under and Cincinnati as the favorite would be fine, but I personally just like the under here. I'm not really sure how many points Cincy's going to score, but I know that Tech won't score very many, so that's where I'll be under. I got it at 53.5.
Yeah, that's what I see currently.
And I believe we're all in consensus on this game too, correct?
We all have Cincy.
Yeah, I like Cincy minus points as well as the under. I'll probably do a parlay in this one, lay the favorite and the under.
There we go.
I like Virginia Tech in this game.
Getting the points or just win it straight up?
Straight up. Virginia
right
Tech,
around 180
I really do like their coach, Justin Fuentes. He's the guy that I was hoping Florida State was going to get. I thought that this guy is young and up and coming. The Bud Foster defense, they'll figure something out against Cincy's run game. I know Virginia Tech's defense as far as against the run was terrible, but that was really mostly against Georgia Tech because I think they got about 700 yards rushing that game. Literally, I think it was 6-something. So I'm going to take Virginia Tech in this game. I like the fact that it seems like they got in by a lucky bounce against Virginia, and it was a lucky bounce. But sometimes those things have a tendency to gain momentum, and I'm going to take Virginia Tech in this game.
Yeah, money line in this game is plus 190.
It's not a bad bet there.
Yeah.
As much as I think Cincinnati's going to win this game, I believe Virginia Tech, being who they are, I think Fuente, has some experience with Cincinnati, being able to out of the American with Memphis. The game stays close. I still think Cincinnati wins, but I like Virginia Tech as well to kind of stay, 31-27 range, kind of in that area. You talk about how they're not going to be able to score, but I think Cincinnati is definitely going to be able to put pace on Virginia Tech. But you're right. The question is, can Virginia Tech keep up? If they can, I think that they can stay within the 6.5 to 5.5, depending on where you can find it right now. It's in that range, especially if there goes Auburn again.
Yep.
Especially if since I lost my train of thought after Auburn scored. Virginia Tech. I lost my train of thought. Let's just not dwell on that. Let's go to the Sun Bowl here. And if you had this matchup in the beginning of the season, you said it's a conference champion versus a team that underachieved in their mind, which one would you have picked? Or, excuse me, a division champion, not a conference champion.
What's the question? I'm confused.
You have Stanford versus Pitt. Which one would you have said would have been a division champion this year if you had to pick preseason?
Maybe Pitt.
Stanford would be my guess.
Right. That's my point.
But I guess I don't know. Could be Pitt.
Really, in the Coastal with Virginia Tech and Miami, and I would not have thought Pitt would have come out of that.
No,
region.
it's not as likely.
Especially with you two. I mean, Duke. You could have said Duke.
We could have.
You guys love the Dukies.
We do.
That being said, Stanford versus Pitt in the Sun Bowl, which is, I don't think where Stanford expected to be. 8-4 still not a bad record. The season didn't go the way they wanted to with Bryce Love and company, but nevertheless they're going to try to go for their 9th win. They are a 5-point favorite with a 52 total here. How do you see this one?
Yeah, another wager for me here for sure. Already in. I love the over here. Usually I'm more of the under guy, but really like the over in this game, and this stems for a couple of reasons. I think people have forgotten what kind of offense that Stanford has been here recently. It's because they haven't had Bryce Love for, as you said, a lot of the year, whether he's either been hurt or he has been a bit ineffective, to be honest with you. And now that he's out in this game and preparing for the NFL, I think that people actually see that as mattering a lot. I disagree. I don't think it matters at all, quite frankly. And KJ Costello has really opened up this offense, and they're running a lot more kind of sets and plays that you'll see out of the Big 12, out of other teams from the Pac-12. A lot of like RPO type of stuff, and faster pace than usual Stanford teams that we've seen in the past. So I think that added to the fact that Pittsburgh doesn't have actually a great defense overall. They've been certainly up and down, more so than not. I'll grant you that, but especially on their defensive line, they've got a couple of really good pass rushers. But actually stopping the run, no good. Anyway, so I think Stanford will be able to do what they want on offense, and on defense, Pitt will certainly score enough in this game to at least have enough points for the over. So I'm at the over 52. For the game wise, I'm not sure. I do think Stanford is the much better team here, at least the way it sets up. But I'll take the over in this spot.
I like Pitt in this one. I do like the over as well. Both defenses are a little struggling right now, especially giving up big plays and
I should
lots
remind
of
us
yards.
in the bowl, Pick'em, UF Stanford, and we both have Pitt.
Yeah, that is. I was surprised by that. What happened? Yeah.
I do believe Pitt's defense will kind of show up in this one. They'll win the game 30-27, something around there. Money line currently at plus 175. So.
I like Pitt in this game also straight up. Obviously, if you want the points, go ahead and take them. But really, Stanford's been disappointing this year. I think they're going to look at this game saying, I got to go to the Sun Bowl. How did this happen? How did I get to play Pitt? All right, they were a division winner, but they're really 7-6. So I think there's a lack of motivation on Stanford's part on this game, and this is going to be one of those that you scratch your head and say, how did Pitt win by so much? It's because Stanford really doesn't care.
Yeah, I can't see Pitt running away with this game just based on Kenny Pickett's lack of ability to play football. I guess he's not a great quarterback, but they have two really good running backs in Ollison and Hall, who I think will pace the game, keep Stanford away from the football. That being said, I also have Pitt winning this game. I'll probably take the points as well, just in case, because never a bad time, especially if this thing may be bet back up, because it did start at Stanford with a 6.5 point favorite. It has been bet down.
It might come close to that original line.
Yeah, you got no Love, Irwin's out. You're missing two starting offensive linemen in Stanford, and I don't know. I just don't know if that's enough to overcome, because the fact is
I think
I don't really want to have a gun to my head bet on either of these teams, so it doesn't really feel good. That being said, I think that with a month to prepare and no Bryce Love, Pitt's defense will potentially be able to stop them. It's a tough game. It really is. I don't feel good about picking either way on this game. I'll take Pitt. And,
Pitt will still allow some points, but
which is why the 52 might be a pretty nice spot.
Over, yeah. Yeah, I think Ollison has a good game for Pitt for sure, running the ball and having a few breakout plays for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's turn our attention to Token's favorite bowl of the season.
Woohoo!
The Red Box Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That's his boys, Michigan State. They are 2.5 point dogs to Oregon after it's just announced that Herbert's going to come back for his senior season. That was a bit of a shock to me. Anybody else really see that as kind of status quo? Anybody else expect him to come back?
Well, I'm a little bit of an outlier, I realize, in the fact that I think he's an extremely overrated quarterback. So I get it in the sense that I don't like to try to predict guys going to the NFL. I think that's a tough thing to do because there's so many different factors that allow a player to be either good or not good. But I don't see him as ready per se. Just if I'm just taking a look, and Herbert has been completely underwhelming from what I've seen in him this year. I know I thought when he faced Wazoo against Minshew that I theoretically went on the line to say that Minshew's the better quarterback in that matchup. I don't even think it's close, really at all close.
That's fair.
So that's my own opinion. A lot of talent, and
I just think in spots, certain spots, it's like when we're looking at them right now. When McShay and Kuiper have you the first quarterback off the board.
Wow.
Sometimes you just you may not think other people may not think you're that good, but you kind of almost have to go.
Oh, if he knew he was going to be the first quarterback off the board, then I probably would.
I mean, we've got 4 months to kind of determine 4 or 5 months.
Sure,
a lot can change, but right now, I mean, they were definitely in shock as far as him going back to school. But you know what? It may be the right decision. The question is that I don't think he makes Oregon. Unless they have a huge class coming in.
They do.
They
do, yes.
Well, you would be the guy to know.
Yes. They're number 10 right now. It's the best class they've ever had throughout their history. And that offensive line, especially Mario Cristobal, who is a genius recruiter on the O-line, is insane. Yeah, like this Oregon team looks really, really good going forward. So that might have helped a little bit.
That might have mattered, yeah.
And a lot of people love Cristobal.
Especially in the Pac-12. If it's due to be down again, they may have a definite shot at competing, getting in the playoff. Who knows?
That could have been something. Yep.
Probably like a lot of the overs next year, too, with Oregon, too.
It's an interesting point. He's also from the area. I know he's from Oregon, too. He's from the area, so maybe there's some sort of tie as well. I don't know.
You never know. You never know why a guy makes a decision.
You don't know. But I do like the over comment there. I think we should watch out for that early in the season with some spots. I totally agree.
All right, well, the total in this one is 48. This is offense versus defense at its finest right here. Oregon is the 2.5-point favorites. Token, it's your Spartan squad. We'll let you go first. Let's see. Hold on. Before you do that, let's see. Where are we at in this one?
Token, where are you at? You taking Oregon?
Tony's got Michigan State. And Token, you take Oregon.
Yep.
And I have Oregon as well.
Yep. Yeah, I believe Oregon wins this game, covers.
Where is the Red Box Bowl?
Santa Clara.
Yeah.
It's in front of 7-Eleven.
Oh, snap. Nice.
It's at the old Blockbuster.
Oh, okay. That's where it's at.
Yeah. Well played.
It's in Jeffers World, Toys R Us. No,
just pick the game.
This one, Oregon wins 21-17. Kind of a close nail biter, but Oregon comes out.
I'll take 21-17. I have the under 48 here. It's just a strong lean at this point. I haven't actually bet it. And one of the reasons is I think this thing might sneak up a little bit higher as the days proceed here until the game goes off. I'm hoping for around 50, and then we can hit the under. Not exactly 100% confident in it. Just know that Michigan State does not show up for games like that. That's one of the things I know I can count on, at least, that squad will be ready to go. They always are. And that rush defense is second to none in college football. Absolutely behind no one. And
yeah, Verdell will probably get the ball a few times, but
it won't matter.
Probably not too often, yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that Oregon can't win the game. They certainly can. They're favored for a reason. That's fine. But I'll take the under in this one because I certainly don't like what Michigan State can do on offense either. We saw that the last 3 or 4 weeks. They were abysmal. Yeah. They don't know. Talk about not knowing what quarterback to play. Wow. I mean, who knows who's going to start?
Yeah, it was like Rocky
Lombardi.
Lombardi.
Yeah.
He was awesome. I liked him for a little stretch.
Right.
I think the big thing out of East Lansing right now is L.J. Scott, who played less than, he played less than enough to redshirt.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually made the decision, apparently, publicly.
Which one in the NFL?
No. Let me finish.
Oh, okay.
He actually made the decision publicly to redshirt and then come back for another year.
Oh, good for him.
Well, he changed his mind about that. He then decided, I'm going to play I'm going to play the Red Box Bowl and now go to the NFL. So apparently that's not sitting well with D'Antonio, and he may not actually see that many carries. That being said, Connor Hayward's actually been a pretty decent running back this year. But you're right, the offense is pretty blasé as far as Michigan State goes. I think this was this is a kind of a situation the same almost as the Ohio State game, although Oregon's not on the same level as Ohio State. When you guys talked about it, you nailed it on the head with that game. I don't see how Lewerke and the Spartans score. So I can see this game staying close for a long time, but as the game wears on, I can see, like you said, the under being really, really good in this game in a 20-10 matchup, something along those lines. So I think the more the game goes, the more it favors Oregon if the Spartans cannot get anything. I mean, they had 26 total points the last 3 games they played. So
well, during the year they've averaged below 20 points per game at 19.8. So
yeah, 19.8, but they've only given up 18. So that's why I think the under's a strong player. Either that or Vegas is playing a Jedi mind trick on us.
Yeah,
but, we'll see.
It's probably double action right here. So.
Yeah, Mark D'Antonio is one of my favorite coaches. I think he is awesome. He's done a really good job this year with a team that just really can't score. I mean, that offense is pathetic. He put up a good fight against Ohio State. I do see the defensive portion, but I don't see how they are going to score. And the motivation with the quarterback coming back from Oregon, I like Oregon, and I'll lay the points.
All right.
Sorry, there was a big yawn right there before. Oh, all right, now we're back. Missouri and Oklahoma State, the Liberty Bowl, which sounds like an interesting matchup. I just don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. We got a OK State 10-point favorite here. To me, this game feels boring, even though we have 2 offenses that can light the lamp.
OK State a 10-point favorite?
Or excuse me, Mizzou a 10-point favorite. Yeah. Pardon me on that one. This is Drew Lock's last game, which is probably about the only thing that I actually have interest in seeing. I've been a big Drew Lock supporter as far as on this. From a gambling standpoint, though, 10 points a lot to lay in a game. But Drew Lock is the only thing I see of value here as far as wanting to obviously take his last chance to impress draft scouts. Total 74 on this game. I don't know if that's high enough.
No,
in a game like this.
I mean, you have Cornelius going against Locke, and he's very capable.
Justice Hill going to play in this game? Or is he going to sit?
He's sitting.
He's sitting? Mm-hmm. So that kind of takes a little bit of the sizzle out of it. But like you said, Cornelius is definitely – he's a big boy, too.
Yeah.
What's he, like 6'8" or something like that? He's a big corn boy.
He's corn-fed.
Corn-fed is what I meant to say. He's not a corn boy.
He's 6'6" is what he's listed at. 6'6", 230.
But, yeah, I just see this spot. I don't really want to touch the number. I feel like 74 is just not enough. This game could get into the hundreds.
I want to be all over this number. I love this number. This is one of my favorite picks out of the entire bowl season. Huge fan of Oklahoma State here for a variety of reasons. Again, this is one of those that Justice Hill, fine back. I don't care that he's sitting.
Do not care.
They have a true freshman, Chuba Hubbard, who is obviously a great name, number one.
Yeah, that's a great name.
But 2, is an absolute beast.
Is it Chuba or is it Chuba?
I don't know. Chuba? Maybe it's Chuba.
Either way, it sounds awesome.
For entertainment purposes, it's Chuba.
Okay,
yeah, that's great.
We'll go with that, just for our own fun. But backing up Justice Hill this year, and he was able to start a game, too, that Justice wasn't able to play in. He was phenomenal in that game. He's averaging over 5.6 yards a carry and looks every bit the part. Looks like he's been playing college football for a few years now, even though he's still just a freshman on campus. So I love that. So I'm not too worried about in that sense. And another kind of weird prediction here, I think that Cornelius will be the best quarterback in this game, and I don't think it'll be all that close either.
Wow.
I really like what Cornelius has done this year. He waited his time at Oklahoma State, stayed true, and really focused on this season to make the most of it that he could. And I think this game will mean a lot to him. A lot of these bowl games, they don't mean a whole lot to a lot of players. I think this game will mean a ton to him. And I love where Oklahoma State's at in this game. An offense that can just go bonkers and go off the rails. An incredibly good offensive coach and a much better head coach, I think, than on the other side. Surprised that Odom even got an extension. I think he's average at best overall, especially as an in-game coach. And I really like Oklahoma State here. Certainly the money line is in play as well. I'm not really sure where you got plus 10. The biggest I saw was plus 9.
Yeah, I see plus 9 currently.
But
let me refresh.
But yeah, I mean, huge fan of both the spread here and the money line.
Missouri's minus 9.
Yeah. Money line for OK State
this says
is
it opened up
280.
OK State minus 10 or Missouri minus 10.
Yeah, that was correct.
Yeah, I got 275, so
Yeah,
this
same.
is what I got it at. Yeah, and then +9. So yeah, that's exactly where
I
I'm
like
at.
OK State to cover in this one as well. I will like the over. I don't love it though, but
We're all on something, though.
yeah.
We all have Missouri.
Yep. I do believe Missouri wins this game, but give me Oklahoma State plus the points.
That's funny. All the consensus picks, I can't remember them. I only have the differential picks.
I just took Missouri because it was a strategic move. I didn't think that either one of you would be on Oklahoma State, and I didn't want to somehow lose two spots to you guys. That was honestly that is the only reason I took Missouri in this game.
See,
only one.
he played it like a competitor. We just played it like, let's pick the games.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, that's
I'll
fair.
blame you for that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't dislike Oklahoma State keeping it close. I think it's 47-43, something like that.
Yeah, I like Oklahoma State with the points. I think you're going to watch this game and you're going to say, why is Missouri favored by 9 or 10? I think this game is going to go back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised Missouri pulls it out, but with the points, I definitely love Oklahoma State.
Be interesting if this one goes to overtime.
They could score 200.
They could.
All right, San Diego Credit County blah 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 Holiday Bowl, which is where we'll find Tony Johnson.
I will be.
Have you made the plans?
Plans are been made. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to do the dual game and head with you to Glendale, but
Auburn just scored, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Over's good now.
There we go.
Before half.
Jesus.
But no, I got a couple days there and have some fun on New Year's Day as well. So, yeah, but it's always a good time to be in the San Diego area for sure.
So you got your boys, your Northwestern Wildcats. They are 7-point dogs against the Utes, the Utah Utes, 9-4. Oh, unprofessional.
Yeah.
Is alarm or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we had a 10:30 podcast, you set an alarm for 12:15.
Maybe it's the leave.
I forgot to turn it off.
Boy.
That's usually what time I get up for work.
All right, Utah 7 points. The over/under is 46. I hate this game. I don't like this game at all. I mean, as far as Utah could blow them out of the water, but Northwestern's. I mean, what have we talked about all year? The Fighting Fitzgeralds.
That's right.
Let's see. Updating the bet here. Tony's on Northwestern. Token's on Utah, and I'm on Northwestern as well. So I don't dislike the 7 points as far as for Thorson and the Wildcats, but I mean, I literally want to take a page. It could go any which way in this game.
Give me the Utes minus the points. I even like Utah minus all those points. I think the Fighting Fitzgerald
traveling less. Yeah.
I think the Fighting Fitzgeralds are
It's crazy how you go from the Big Ten championship game to the Holiday
competitive, but yeah.
Yeah. So how you feeling?
Well, taking Northwestern in the in our contest, I certainly going to want them here with the points, getting 7. This is another line that I think.
Now I can't take anything you say seriously because you were strategic betting now.
I did with the Missouri pick, yes, in our contest.
Yeah.
But I think, as Mike said in the last game, in the Missouri game, it's going to be one of those that, why is Utah the big favorite here in this game as we're watching it? That's the way I see this one. I think both of these teams are very, very similar. And if you look at what they do, especially even offensively, too, as Utah is really kind of transpired from an NFL kind of pro-style offense into this kind of interesting sort of spread deal they have with Huntley now, who will be back at quarterback, and does mean something. I do think that does move the needle a little bit. And again, I know Utah's got a great defense, but Northwestern finds a way. They always find a way to hang in games like this, no matter if they're playing, Notre Dame or if they're playing Rutgers. They'll play down to a Rutgers team too.
They played
will.
up to Michigan.
That's
they played up to Notre Dame.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Yes.
Weird shit.
Wherever they're at, it's going to be a close game. The comeback against Nebraska at home was unbelievable. So
This is not the case, though.
I understand. I know, and that's great. Token, we'll have a disagreement on this one.
I believe Utah's defense will be able to cause some havoc for the Wildcats and cause some turnovers, including probably a pick 6. And
Okay, and on the flip side, is Utah? So Utah's going to be scoring how in this game? That's my question. I agree that
Put the football in the painted part of the field.
I believe Moss probably gets a rushing touchdown.
He's
Huntley
not playing.
probably gets.
He's still out.
Oh, is he still out? Okay.
Yeah, but I know it's big. Yes.
Huntley probably gets 2 touchdowns. So
fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Armand Shine is really a big step down from Zach Moss. That's one of the reasons. Another one why I like this one. So. Anyways, I'm on Northwestern +7.
I also like Northwestern in this game. I wouldn't be surprised they win outright. Give me Northwestern plus the points.
Yeah, I think this is going to fall right around the number 28, 24, 28, 21, somewhere around there. But you're right, Fighting Fitzgeralds. We have not been able to accurately predict this team all year, so anything's possible. All right, let's go to the Gator Bowl, and Jimbo's back in Jacksonville facing NC State, another team who had high aspirations. Both of these teams really, but NC State mostly. I'm excited to watch this game to watch Ryan Finley. I think he's another pro prospect that could be moving up draft boards, especially now with Herbert going out between Finley, Greer, and I forget the other guy's name. There's another guy who's probably first, second round talent.
Haskins?
Dwayne Haskins, another one. He could be moving up boards if he decides. He's a junior, right?
Yes.
If he decides to go pro.
I think he's redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Well, he's
junior
eligible
by
for the
class.
draft.
Yes,
He
you are right. You're right.
He hasn't made a declaration, though, right?
Not yet. He said
Not
he wanted
yet.
to wait.
So
He's waiting on Jacksonville. I mean, his agent. Urban Meyer to help him out.
Yeah, exactly. Nevertheless, Texas A&M 7-point favorite. Over/unders 56 in this spot.
Yeah, I'm just a lean here, but I do like the over. So NC State does have some players out. As we mentioned, they have their best tackler at linebacker out, and then Calvin Harmon at wide receiver, which I does think mean a little bit. And Texas A&M just gives up a ton of yards through the air. They've been really Swiss cheese back there all season long, and I just like two offensive coaches with a lot of time to prepare here. Perfect weather. This one seems pretty right up front, so I'm on the over 56.
Yeah, I like the over as well in this one. I do believe Texas A&M wins this game, probably covers the 7, but over is definitely one that I'm betting on for sure. I believe A&M's definitely going to be able to put up points in this spot against the decent defense of NC State, but they're not that great. So
I really like Texas A&M in this game. I'd lay the points. They've been battle tested. That SEC West is a brutal schedule, and they've held their own pretty well. I like Texas A&M.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we're all consensus on this one.
Yep, all have A&M,
Yep.
including Mike. All four.
I'm taking the points with NC State, and I actually might sprinkle it on the money line. I feel like they feel like a hungrier team. They're closer in terms of proximity for the fan base. I'll take the points and maybe a little bit of money line if it jumps up. It's already gone from 4.5 to 7, so it may jump up a little bit more before game time in that spot. So, and they are the last game of the year actually in that spot. So, if everybody's chasing money at the end of the day, they may drive that line up a little bit. So. All right, guys, we have 9 minutes and 5 games. Y'all ready to do this?
Yeah, ready to go.
Speed round?
All right, Outback Bowl, January 1st. Happy New Year, everybody. Mississippi State versus Iowa. Mississippi State's a 7-point favorite. 42.5, down from 44.5 is the total. I believe we're on differences on this one. Tony is on Mississippi State. Token is on Iowa, and I am also on Iowa to win this game.
Yep, I got a token situation going on here. I actually like the total and the spread here. I'm on Iowa plus 7 and the under 43, which is what it looks like right now. My favorite of the two is Iowa getting 7. This is very similar to the Northwestern situation. That this is a very high-quality Big Ten team that plays a lot of close games. They're really well coached, and Mississippi State just doesn't have enough on the back end. So I will take Iowa plus 7. I actually kind of like the under 43 as well.
yeah, I do like the under as well. I will give them to me on the money line though. Plus 235 is currently what I see. So
I like that. Yeah.
Not much of a feeling on this game either way. I like Mississippi State. I like their defense. I don't know that the offensive Iowa is going to be able to score, so just a slight lean to Mississippi State.
I'm with you, Token. I'm on Iowa money line. I think they kicked the game-winning field goal to win, but it's going to stay really
17-14.
Yeah, it's going to stay real low. Outback Bowls, I don't know if you've looked in their history, they generally tend to be very intense and exciting games. It's always usually the first game
It's
of
going
the
to be
new
intense
year.
and excitingly low scoring, I think.
Yeah, this one may be a boring one, but it may actually make for an
Exciting
interesting.
game.
Yeah. I mean, Mississippi State's offense is all about running the football. So,
Yeah. Get that clock moving in, yeah.
all right, here we go. Fiesta Bowl.
Uh-oh.
We'll let you start.
No, I don't need to start. I mean, obviously you know my pick. So
I'm just going to be fast. I think we already discussed this when we were making the picks. I do have LSU -7. It's already bet. I think it's going to move up, probably 7.5, 8 or whatever. I just wanted to make sure I got my 7 in.
55.5 is the total.
Yep, easy one. They'll show up.
You two are on LSU.
And if they show up, this is a whitewashing. So there it is.
LSU covering and the over in this one. I do believe both these teams put up decent amount of points.
I feel like there should be a punishment for you two if UCF wins this game.
We'll talk about that.
Depends on what kind.
And you're staying in my house. Choose your next words carefully.
LSU blowout. No.
Is that your plane leaving?
Yeah, I'm leaving on Sunday anyway. So
you're good. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm
His
okay
face
there.
turned bright as red as your hat.
I'm going to just say I have a slight lean to UCF. I really think LSU is going to win the game. UCF is not going to be able to stop that potent LSU offense. No, they'll be able to run the ball a little bit, and they'll be able to control the clock. I do really.
You know what potent means because LSU's offense is not a shining
Aaron
example.
knows the word potent for sure.
No, I think Burrow's had a really good year for them. He's been pretty consistent, giving them a little stability back there. It's a shame that Melton's out of this game because that would be a really great game to watch. It would really be a great game to watch, and I just think that I like UCF with the points because I don't think they're going to give up. I think that they're going to keep fighting in this game, but I think they're going to fall short, especially if we can get them at 8 points. I would take UCF, but I do expect LSU to win.
You already kind of said what you had thought
Yeah, I mean,
when
I've
we were
already-
making the picks.
It's
Yeah.
plus 250. Just let you know.
I'm already taking the money. I'm taking everything UCF, but my head starts to feel like LSU can pull this game out. The question is LSU is going to be missing 3 cornerbacks, their top 3 cornerbacks. So that matters. The question is can Darryl Mack throw the ball? I mean, he's shown that he can run the ball, and the offense is amazing. They run for almost 300 yards a game on the ground. Yes, if Milton was in this game, I would have no doubts about them beating LSU. But with Darryl Mack behind center, it doesn't make me feel very good. No disrespect to him. He's done everything he's been asked to do, and then some. I don't know if he's ready for this stage quite yet. But you know what? Every time the Knights have stepped up to have to play somebody, they've done it. And that's not just counting these last 2 years. That's counting they beat Georgia in a bowl game. They've beaten Mississippi State in a bowl game. Every time they've been asked to step up and beat somebody or play a big game, they've done it in the last decade or so. I mean, they got 6 conference titles in 11 years. And whether you agree, depending on, it doesn't matter what conference that's in, it's still pretty impressive. So you already know where I'm at. I just had to give my little, I think it's 41-38. UCF wins the game. I think it's a high-scoring game. I think only reason I say this is because I think Darryl Mack's going to find the ability to throw on a depleted secondary. All right, we got the Citrus Bowl, Kentucky, and we're not going to get there. So Kentucky and Penn State, 6.5. Penn State, 47.5.
Slight lean for me on Penn State, -6.5, but nothing more really to say.
Kentucky plus the points for me.
Yeah, you got
I even sprinkle a little on the money line.
Yeah, Tony's got Penn State. You have Penn State. I have Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky to win the game. Scrap the points.
Kentucky's way overrated. I like Penn State, and I'll lay the points.
All right, Texas and Georgia
Ooh,
in the Sugar Bowl.
This could be obscenely ugly. This is one of the, I don't know if it's still the biggest point spread besides Alabama, but I mean this is really, really, really good team versus a solid kind of strong Big 12 team. I know that Texas's record getting points is actually really good under Tom Herman, but I don't care. Georgia, big.
Texas plus the points for me. I've been betting them every time they've been a dog this year, and they've been coming through. So
Georgia's a 13-point favorite right now. I didn't say that before, but they're a 13-point favorite.
Yeah.
Seems like it should be 17 to me, but
I'm going to take Texas plus the points. Georgia's very disappointed that they weren't in the Bowl Championship Series and not going to be as motivated as they probably should be. I'm going to take Texas plus the points.
I agree with that. I'm taking Texas plus the points. Actually, I'm also going to do a 7-point teaser. Tease Texas up to 20 with our other game that we're going to talk about here Washington and Ohio State, which I know your favorite game is. So it's Ohio State minus 6.5. I'll just say, we'll just go real quick. I'm going to tease Ohio State down to a win.
Ohio State minus the points for me.
Urban Cryer gets his last victory.
I think that could very well happen. I'm a little bit concerned about Urban playing his last game here, but I really like Washington in this game in regards to covering the 6.5, just because of where we stand with everything. I mean, this is maybe the best coach in college football, and I include Nick Saban in that camp. I think Chris Peterson is absolutely incredible what he can do with a variety of not only great talent but also some subpar talent at times. So I think they'll show up and be really, really good in this game. As we know, the Big Ten has a very poor track record in the Rose Bowl that goes back decades, and there's a reason for that. So I really, really like Washington in this one, getting 6.5, and that's where I'll be.
Fair enough. All right, well, that's all the bowls. How are we looking on the you guys all have LSU, of course. We talked about that.
Somebody has Washington in the Rose Bowl, actually.
That would be me, actually.
Okay.
I think I'm kind of with you on that. We got about 10 seconds. I'm kind of with you on that as far as Washington covering, but I think we're all in agreement that Ohio State probably wins that game.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, Chai Poker, and Eric on the Web Productions. And with all that being said, good luck in the rest of the bowl season. And we'll obviously be back to talk championship game.
Yeah,
so we are out. We'll catch you on the next one.